All right. Hello and welcome to the BC coding stream, and good afternoon to everybody, or morning, evening, night, whoever you are around the world. I don't know if it was last week or if it was the week before, but I shared with you basically my take on Claude Code configuration, which is this repository that is also public, where I just publish my Claude markdown, my instructions on how to do AL development, also like the profile I have with the agent, with commands and everything for you to reuse or do whatever you like with it. But it's not that straightforward to use this, I figured, and it also there are some things I don't like and how I currently use this myself as well, and I will show you what this. And today's stream is about solving this, and I only have an idea of how it might be solvable, so we'll see how that turns out, if everything will work as I expect it to work, as I hope it to work. And yeah, if I fail on this, you're alive with me, and maybe we'll learn something at least. Right, let me close this. I've prepared a few things here. I've prepared an empty folder basically in VS Code. I've also booted up my Claude Code already, and the idea is to build a dev container script. So let me just wrap my head a little bit. Let's put in the initial prompt and let's get started. And the way I prompt is also something, maybe, I don't know if you've seen that before. I use my voice. So let's get started. All right, I would like to build a dev container configuration. I'm not sure if we need to have like a custom Dockerfile or something, but essentially what I would like to do is using Ubuntu or maybe Debian as a root or the base image, I would like to have Claude Code installed and ready to go. I'm not sure how authentication would be done best, if via API key as an environment variable, or if we can do some either login on the go or maybe reuse the login from the host machine. But in the end, it should not require me to log in every time I spin up a new dev container. So that's how I do this. You see, I press the shortcut, transcription started. Now this was transcribed using Whisper on my graphics card, and that way I can paste this prompt and see what it does. Let's see how this goes. Because I mean, I could also type all of this, but why should I, right? And as you already noticed while this is running now, I have bypass permissions set on. This is a dangerously do not do this in live or something flag on as when you start Claude Code. And what it does is that I don't have to manually approve everything Claude Code wants to do, because I don't want to sit here just pressing enter, because who reads all the commands that it wants to use, right? Or the script it writes and everything. Like if you were to do this, then you can obviously also like develop manually, I guess. So that's what this flag is for, but it is dangerously to just let it execute commands on your machine. That's why I want to encapsulate this inside a dev container, because then it can screw up and completely destroy this completely container, but it can't escape, or at least that's my plan, to restrict it so it cannot escape. If it destroys the container, so be it, I can just spin up a new one, right? That is my plan. So right now it's doing some research about Claude Code authentication and dev containers in a agent. This is a built-in sub-agent, the task thing, if you haven't worked with this. So it decided to do that on its own, based on my description. And it's trying to figure out how to do this. Now, if this works first try, and this was all I needed, then this will be a pretty boring stream. Also, by the way, if you have any questions or anything while being live, of course, you can just use the chat. Afterwards, on the recorded video, feel free to leave a comment. I'll try to answer everything as good as I can. It's doing some excessive research here. Let's see. Can also expand it, so it's doing quite some web search on how to do dev containers, on how to use it with Claude, where the credentials are stored for authentication, pass it in. So I have given it quite a difficult task, as it seems. And here you can also see the prompt the main session gives to the sub-agent. So based on my unstructured prompt of just explaining it in plain, like in spoken language, basically, it restructured everything for a sub-agent to work on. Still running. And sometimes it runs for a few minutes. I don't want to stream Claude Code running here for 20 minutes though. Hope this finishes soon, at least with an initial version. Then we can see how far this gets us. I think I have Opus configured to be not fast, but like more thorough with analyzing everything and with like being sure that everything runs correctly and it thinks about what it should do carefully, because I prefer that way. I mean, I don't mind if I work on a few things in a parallel. I don't mind one session running 20 minutes if it's right, or 95% on the first shot. It's more useful for me than having it finish after 3 minutes and having to reiterate 10 times. Okay, so the sub-agent is done. It checks what's in the repo. It's a clean repo, there is nothing. So everything's to be created. I think this is the only downside of having the sub-agents work. You don't really see what's doing. Background. Okay. So for authentication, there are 3 viable approaches. We can bind the Claude Code from the host, shares your existing auth credentials and settings from the host machine to the container, 0 friction. Okay, now it's asking me, if you haven't seen this before, this is like how interactively Claude can ask the user for input. I'm not sure if the Claude Code folder should be bound completely. I think both is fine if we support the binding the folder and also having an API key. Then yeah, it recommends using a Dockerfile, and I think that's fine. We can build it, we can ship it, so that shouldn't be an issue. The base image, not sure if do we want Ubuntu? I think it's fine. Let's use Ubuntu. We can always swap it afterwards. And then this way you go through the questions. Claude asks you to input basically, and then at the end you can submit, and might ask some more questions. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. And this didn't interrupt the session, by the way. You can see 5 minutes 30 seconds. It's still running. It's still going. Can we? Oh yeah, here's the thinking that it did in the background. So sometimes you can show this with Control O, but now it's thinking something else which we can't see. And there we go. Now it starts to create. Some stuff. Is this big enough? Button. I hope this is big enough. Okay, so what it created the Dockerfile based on the Ubuntu container. It does a install of Claude Code, and it ensures that it's in path. Then we have the devcontainer.json file, which sets a few settings and also binds the local home directory to Claude as a bind, and we have the Anthropic environment variable. Now this is, I think, good as a starting point. Now, next step, since this is for AL development, I need to make sure that this works in WSL on Windows. So let's prompt for this. Okay, so this is for AL development, and we need to make sure that this works for WSL on Windows. Can you just double check that the bindings and the environment key binding and everything you've created is also compatible with WSL on Windows? I need to practice a little bit starting the recording so I don't need to explain everything twice, once to the stream, once to Claude Code. But this is the transcription. Now let's see how that works. And it's actually quite interesting that we have like 6 people on the stream watching me explain stuff while I prompt Claude Code to do stuff. So. But again, I can only repeat myself. If you happen to have any questions, feel free to post them while we wait on Claude Code developing this for us. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Also, is this the best way to publish this as a separate devcontainer.json file and a Dockerfile separately, or should this just be a base image that is easy to load from the library, from the Docker hub, basically? Or can this be shared in a better way somehow? Okay, so it answered before I paste my next prompt. Everything checks, no changes needed. That's what I wanted to see. Just to make sure that this works on Windows as well. Now, under the next prompt, as I just said, I need to see if this is the way to share this, or if we need to change anything in a way. I mean, at the end, you can just copy this folder basically as a Git submodule to your repos, and it should work. Let's see what Claude Code comes up. Oh, Oh, this is nice. The dev container feature. Docker and Docker, GitHub, CLI, etc. all distributed, most composable. Okay. Yeah, I think this is what I want to do then. If there is a thing around this, an existing solution, then let's just reuse this. Dev container feature. Interesting. So you create an existing dev container JSON with this. Okay. Right. Let's get this tested. I will use my Sentinel project for this again. We don't have any dev containers here, so let's see. Can we do test? Oh, and this is, again, if you're using Copilot, this is a queued prompt. So I've already typed this, I've already sent this, but now it picked it up since it finished what it did before. And it did. Okay. It redesigned this a little bit. Interesting. There is a dev container. Oh, there's the release pipeline that it's currently building. And then we have the dev container template thing. I'm really curious to see how this ends up working. Oh, the release pipeline even has tests. Did I see that correctly? Okay. Okay, it's checking if my repo already has a dev container file, but it doesn't. Oh yeah, it uses basically the template with my local path. So that's good. Apparently there is a dev container CLI. Didn't know that. Let's see if the reopening container already works. Okay, let's see what Claude say about this. Okay, let's try this again. Reopen it. Let's see. This isn't something I can solve quickly. We need to find another way, but maybe it will work. No, it. Also, this makes it easier to read for me. But it just says that the command, basically. So I'm not sure if this is any help. Okay. So we'll use the Dockerfile then, for the Sentinel testing at least. Just one thing. Will the same problems arise when as soon as this is published to GitHub, or will this work when we put a GitHub path instead? Okay. Will not arise when published. The issue is purely about local file system resolution. Okay. So then we will try that soon to push it, because I mean this can also be on GitHub, what we just built, and see how that works. But let's first try and run this locally. Maybe while the container opens, we can push this to GitHub. Can you use the GitHub command line to create a new repository on GitHub for this and push everything, so we can also give this a try with the real URL? Okay, so it seems like we have the thing up and running. Let's see. Odd. This seems to work, so the install worked. But it doesn't do the authentication. So I need to iterate over this. Okay, so everybody following, the repository is up and running. And it's also public. So if you want to already try it yourself, you can. But I still work on this, so it's not done yet. Okay, we want to close the remote connection for now on this one. We open this normally. Now it did update the URL in the template, and the feature metadata will update in just a second. And then please also update the Sentinel repository to give this another try with the real URL. And with the Dockerfile, I just noticed that the authentication did not pass through correctly, so that one didn't work yet. Okay, apparently the release action doesn't work. Okay. .403. It might be that I need to create a secret or something with an access token for this to run, or change the setting. But this level of autonomously I have never seen with the GitHub Copilot in VS Code. I'm not sure if you have made different experiences, but it just fixes the issue, right? I'm not sure if you followed now along, because there were a few things that happened fairly quickly, but I've explained that something, oh no, that we want to push this, and then it started to push this because I know it has access to my GitHub account. It can do stuff like this. It's live, and the action trigger didn't run, so it fixes that. Then it pushed the stuff, it committed and pushed them, and then it notices, or it checks the runs on that repository, sees that there is an issue, and proceeds to fix that on its own. I think that's pretty, first of all, impressive, and second of all, helpful, right? Okay, so let's... do I need to do reopening container? Right, reopening. Okay, now that reused the existing container, so we need to do a rebuild container. Okay. Okay. Do we still need the Dockerfile though? And I don't know if I do this correctly, because it seems to reuse the existing container that was created from the Dockerfile from before. Now it's improvising. Okay, so we can remove the Dockerfile, and it already did that. Okay. Let's do a rebuild without cache. Let's try like this. Show that. The path. Yes. It's processing the feature from my GitHub. Okay, interesting. Doing some different stuff. Yes, I do use Linux for BC development already since, I don't know, 3 or 4 years or something. So this now is Omachi or Omachi or whatever, however you pronounce it. So it's built on Arch Linux. Let's do a new session. Let's check if Claude works better this. No. Okay, so the rebuild worked. I've confirmed in the logs that the feature was used correctly, but I still noticed that when I first run Claude, it's asking me to select a theme and everything, and then also to log in, so the login isn't carrying through correctly. And I'm not sure if you've noticed, but when transcribing, Claude doesn't really transcribe to the word that I try to say or pronounce. But Claude Code doesn't really care. It still works. So it knows what I mean. Yes, I can run those two commands inside the container. Let's see. Copy all of this. Give it to him. I mean, it would be ideal if we could pass through the authentication at the container, because that was really what hindered me when I was using dev containers before for a different reason, and I was always running Claude Code outside of the container because I didn't want to authenticate over and over again. So yeah, either the API key, but if you have a subscription, I'm not sure if the API key really is an option. Oh, but the mount, if we mount that folder to the container, that also means that we could have a separate folder dedicated to AL. Oh, that's even better. It's maybe even easier to configure than my profile that I use, because I need to. Because when using the profile that I use currently, I have to have configuration in each project to actually use the plugin, I think is what it's called. I have to have configuration so the repository loads that plugin. But if we have a dedicated config folder, this one basically that's been shared here, just for AL development, that is passed into the container, into the default location, then it would be way easier, because there we also have like agents and things, I believe, and all sorts of things. And then we have a dedicated base. Okay. First, this one is finished, because if we can't pass through the credentials, we can't pass it from a different folder either, and then to interrupt here because I'm not sure if this is the right approach. Let me ask. Okay, so I've been thinking about this a little bit now. What if we would mount a separate Claude folder dedicated to AL development, and maybe even ship one with the dev container, and have it replaceable of some sort, I don't know. And would it be possible to have to like let or initiate authentication inside the dev container and then have it persist? So I need to authenticate once in one of the dev containers and it will be reused everywhere. Would that be a better approach? Because I'm not sure if you use a Claude Code subscription, you can actually use an API authentication token or anything like this and access that subscription still. See. By the way, if anyone is interested in this, basically also just built by Claude Code, you can I'm not sure if that's as easy as this on Windows, but I'm sure you can do something. But in the end, all I did was have it use Whisper, which is I think open source, to run on my graphics card, and have a shortcut that records my voice, saves. I'm not even sure if it's saving it on disk temporarily or if it's just in memory, the recording, runs it through Whisper, and pastes it back to me into the keyboard, in the clipboard, the shortcut, so I can paste it somewhere or anywhere I want. Okay, so subscription authentication, pay-as-you-go API accounts only. Won't use this subscription. You need auth browser login with source in credential.json. Better architecture, use a shared name Docker volume. Authenticate once, use a good name. Yeah, but does this architecture share Docker volume for auth user prep? Oh fuck. Markdown. Let me explain. So first of all, why would authenticate once from within the dev container behave differently than my already pre-authenticated credentials from my host environment? That would be my first question. And then the second one, no, I don't want to have separate Claude MD instruction files in every project that explains how AL development works, because that's part of currently my plugin, but in the future of the user level instructions basically that are AL specific. And then the project specific instructions contain instructions about the particular project, but not general AL development instructions. I don't know why this is so hard to understand, that we don't want to have all the AL specifics in all of the projects. This would be so much duplication. Now it's thinking hard. Okay. Okay, so if we also mount this one, that might actually be a solution. Yeah, I mean yes. First on the first one, let's try the .local share Claude folder and see if that fixes the authentication issue. On the second one, let's iterate afterwards. Let's not confuse it too much with too many different construction sites at once. And VS Code also notifies you when the devcontainer.json file changed. Yeah. Odd. No, it's still. Okay, this is frustrating. I hope this was easier. Apparently, Claude Code isn't good at exploiting itself. Who would have guessed? Okay, let's test this then. Good approach. We'll just use a shared folder, and that gets just reused by all of the different dev containers. Let's rebuild this. So we have the Claude config, Claude data in, yeah, those two. Okay. Basically the two folders we had before. So let's try. Odd. Yes, I want this. I want to use this. I want to copy the URL. And I will authorize. Authorize. On. Yeah, why would it be fast? The site, the web page to authorize Claude Code doesn't bother to load right now on my second screen. Tab. Authorize. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. Are we done? All right. Okay. Let's see if this survives the reboot. I think yes. Rebuild container. Wait for this to finish. I think it's done. So right. Unfortunately, it still prompts me to onboard, so it's writing some files somewhere which are not in either of those two directories. That's annoying. Oh, this locks the entire home directory? Yeah, it does. Okay, I don't even need to ask. And let's do this. Let's do another onboarding. Yep. Copy. Paste. Authorize. Okay, the callback doesn't work, so copy the URL. Authorize. Copy the code. Paste the code. Enter. 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 it. And then let's do the after. And then let's do the div. Let's see. Let's do a clear first so we don't miss this. Just a few folders that were touched. But I like the approach. I wouldn't have thought about this myself, so. ERM music running playlist. Oh, hello. So we are still busy with, for anybody who joined late, we're still busy with figuring out how to give the Claude Code authentication to the dev container. We did a test and logged which files were written into the home directory, and now it's just working. Okay, so maybe it's the Claude JSON in the home directory. That would be interesting. Oh, okay. So the Claude JSON has some information. But since the Claude JSON in the home directory itself doesn't contain the authentication information directly, can we just create that file without symlinking it, and then symlinking or mounting the authentication separately? Would that work? Because that file doesn't comply with my idea of having an AL-specific directory that we mount in the Docker container and just tell it that it's the main one, basically, right? Okay, it was a little bit faster than... Sorry, I touched my microphone. It was a little bit faster than me prompting this, so... Oh yeah, but it did exactly what I wanted it to do. Just creates that file on startup. Perfect. Okay. Rebuild the container. Rebuild container. So let's do a full rebuild. Rebuild with the cache. It should still persist the mount that we created to save this stuff, those two folders, but it will still recreate everything. Sometimes the cache is a little bit weird. Can you check if the credentials JSON exists in that volume? Because I think I did the authentication before, so it should persist that. I did a rebuild without cache just to make sure, but yeah, please double check. Okay, give it another try. Still on. Oh, it needs to start up a Docker container to be able to look into that file. Interesting. I would have thought that there is a way to look into the volumes manually. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit overkill. That's what I expected. Interesting, but it has what kind of settings it's saving. Yes. Okay. Yeah, let's try another rebuild then. We're getting there. Slowly, but we're getting there. Okay, that worked. Start. Okay. It still asked some questions that I had to confirm, which would ideally be skipped as well. But yeah, authentication saved. So I think that's good enough for an MVP for now. So we can change, save those changes and continue. So just to summarize, now we do have Docker volumes that get created the first time you use this template. Then you have to authenticate once, and then it will save that for future uses. That way we don't pass in the authentication from the host, but we do have it just saved inside. That way, theoretically, your dev containers could use a different subscription than your your main one. And let's also have a look at the devcontainer.json. Okay. Is this in the... Yeah, you could name your mounts differently for different projects, and that way you would be able to use different subscriptions for different projects, and I mean share a set of projects, share another set of projects differently, and that way you have it separated. So I think I would leave the mounts and not change it to pass in from the host, because it loses flexibility. And I think onboarding once is perfectly fine. Just onboarding over and over again would be annoying, right? Okay, let's give it another rebuild. And there my OBS crashed. Interesting. So, wasn't expected, I'm sorry for that. But I'm back. And I didn't mean to stop the stream right now. I want to keep going a little bit more. See? Okay. It just needs to save again that this folder is okay. That I want to use high or medium effort. And confirm whatever that is. Okay, so that works. Can I also use this out of the box? I can. There's Visual Studio is disconnected, but that's probably just a matter of installing the VS Code extension. So that works. That is installed. Now, let's keep the Claude directory set up just a little bit longer. We'll mess with that in a second. Claude AL-specific directory will be the next thing, but before I want to sanitize the Git repository. Since Claude Code should be able to run with dangerously skip all permissions, bypass permissions inside the container in a safe way, I would like to erase or remove the GitHub remote completely. So I'm not sure which steps are necessary to completely remove any trace of the remote URL from the Git repository locally. Or I mean, maybe you come up with a better solution to safeguard this. But if Claude Code decides to completely destroy my repository, if it's disconnected from the remote, I don't lose significant context or progress or whatever code, probably. So that would be my approach. Okay, let's see. We are only at 53%, 54% context. Still have something left to go with. Probably thinking about those alternatives I asked for. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. But this is the thinking it did. It did really do some thinking. Since the workspace is blind host, running git remote remove origin inside the container also removes it from the host. Clean is about to save the remote URL before the container starts. Strip it inside. Yeah, but no. Yes, but if you save the remote somewhere, it's still somewhere there for Claude Code to access this, right? So it can find the safe remote, reconfigure it, and then still use it, right? So this is not really safe to do. Maybe just removing the credentials would work. Okay, apparently removing the authentication better. Huh. And just to confirm, this also means that we do not lose anything, like all the credential stuff stays persistent on the host, just doesn't pass in to the dev container. Is that correct? That's even a better idea. I mean, what can it do with the... I mean, it can still pull if it's a public repository, but it cannot push anymore, because if... Build. Okay, there is an issue. Awesome. Let's see what this does. Interesting. Can you do sudo in the dev in the post start command? Container. And then can you research if the -- dangerously bypass all permission flag can be set somewhere globally via environment variable or something, so in the container it doesn't have to be passed all the time? And how do I verify that the stripping of the credentials now worked inside the container? Okay. Okay, not sure if that's something we're supposed to do, but okay. Hit all of this stuff. All of this stuff will work. Push work. Okay, so something. We're not there yet. Okay, so I just tried in the repository, in the Sentinel repository. I could pull, I could push new commits. So something is still lacking from the credential cleanup. Oh, it changed something before, after I after I've captured those credentials, so did it say it to git push? Let's see, with those changes. Pushing via VS Code still worked. Paste this. I tried to run git push. It said that there are fatal errors, that it could not read the username, but it still said everything was up to date. And I committed the changes to the devcontainer.json and pushed it via interface of VS Code, and that also worked. Yeah, that's right. I am authenticated against GitHub, right? In VS Code. So oh, oh. And if those settings were changed by Claude Code inside the container, would that then re-enable the authentication being passed through from the host? Yeah. Oh, so there is a dev container from Anthropic that is designed for this. So why aren't we using that as a base? Why does it come up with this? That we are so deep already inside this. It seems like my camera froze, but the screen recording's still working. This is weird sometimes. Okay. I'm just gonna hide the camera then. I'm gonna wrap it up in a minute here anyway, so okay, so apparently this is gonna be the way if Anthropic publishes a dev container which is exactly designed for this use case, then we'll use that one. It only whitelists the Anthropic APIs and blocks everything else, so that way we really encapsulate Claude Code in the container and provide it with all the necessary details. Turns out that this is probably going to be part 1 from at least a 2-part series. I still have plans to, as I already described here alongside in the stream, I have plans to bake my instructions into this Docker container. I have also built the AL compile command and a publish and a run tests command, and in the end of the day I want to have a full-fledged ready to go development dev container for AL development. So this is what I want to achieve, And yeah, I will build this live on stream. So what I did now, I will continue, but I do have to call it a day for now. So we're not going to continue. But as I said, this is already on GitHub in the current state. I will continue to push there. If you want to check it out, you can. I will put the link in the description right after this. And yeah, thank you for joining. I see quite interesting stats here on this stream. So apparently quite a few people were interested in watching me prompt and vibe code this. Or maybe you're just interested in the end result. Then I have to disappoint you for now, but we will get there eventually. So keep subscribed. I don't know. Keep looking out for notifications. If you don't happen to be subscribed yet, do so. Then you get the notification when I start the next stream. As I usually do, I decide pretty spontaneously when I have the time to do those streams. So notifications is the only way to not miss it. Otherwise, you'll have to watch the. Okay, and thank you very much. Have a nice day wherever you are, and see you on the next stream. Thanks.